I love this place. It's 300,000 square feet of things that can stimulate you. I love the Infinity Climber, our climbing structure out there that keeps kids really physically active.
I know that young people, you're really working on encouraging them to get an interest in medicine.
What we try to do is get kids immersively turned on to science and healthcare and medicine. And then we hope that maybe a switch flips in their head and they get really excited about this because they make an emotional connection to it. So we have a whole hall of live animals, 110 different species, and many of them have deep science or medical stories behind them. And then we bring them out on the floor of the center and demonstrate them with guests. So horseshoe crabs, for instance, that Fred has here. This is one of evolution's great gifts to our planet, and it also turns out to humanity, because they have blood in them that was noticed early on when researchers were handling horseshoe crabs, that the blood coagulates. That's a fancy word for clotting when it experiences bacteria, okay? So now we actually milk, and they have blue blood. It's kind of amazing. We milk the blood, meaning not me or Fred, but pharmaceutical researchers. And they use that to make sure that vaccines are free of bacteria. So even now, as everybody knows, we're trying to develop a COVID-19 vaccine. So many of them are being tested with horseshoe crab blood to make sure that there is no bacteria.
That's incredible. And these horseshoe crabs have been around, they were around before dinosaurs.
And what's so interesting is that we cannot yet, meaning medical science, duplicate effectively what horseshoe crab blood does in terms of purifying vaccines.
I understand you have live surgery, and I'm thinking, what the heck is a live surgery, and how do I get tickets to that?
So the program we do with 6 different hospitals in New Jersey, and we have, through live two-way video conferencing, we broadcast from an operating theater to here and into schools and now kids' homes who are part of this program. You get to watch an entire surgical procedure and converse with the surgical team during the procedure, okay? When I interviewed for this job, I said, what? Patients allow this? No patient has turned down the surgeon. Of course, we need their consent. People do a double take, but then they realize if my surgeon is confident enough to do this in front of a live audience, it must be for me. So we have lots of programs based on that, and that's the reason to come here. The actual watching the surgery has to be done through one of our classroom programs for ethical reasons. The Surgical Society wants to make sure it's for educational purposes and that there wouldn't be any voyeurism involved. So that's a more controlled thing. But Alejandro can show you some of these. You want to demonstrate, Alejandro?
Absolutely, yeah. What are some of the things that we're seeing here?
Absolutely. So one of the big things about live from surgery is talking about the technology that they use in the surgical room. So one of the really more common tools that you can see throughout all of our programs is this really cool instrument called the Bovie. So as you can see, it's sort of like a little plug in the back here, so it's actually hooked up to a machine that emits an electrical current. So think of it as a regular scalpel, except you're using electricity to heat up the tip to cut and cauterize at the same time.
And this is what you'd find in an operating room.
A common tool in an operating room.
So kids get to not only watch, but they get the real deal equipment too.
Correct.
In a safe way, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so our whole mission is to demystify the medical world and kind of bring it down to a more accessible level for students of all ages to get the feel of, what surgery entails, what careers they can get into if they have an interest in healthcare, and also, talk about pathways not only within the surgical room, but there are a lot of different careers outside of the surgical room that are just as important in making sure the patient comes out just fine.
This is really just amazing. Paul, have you been able to kind of eavesdrop on any of the students after they experience a live surgery to get their reaction?
Definitely. I mean, many have decided to go into the medical profession just based on that experience. Our kids that have just gotten a driver's license decide, I want to become an EMT. It's a great program. And you meet all the people in the operating room. So when we're dealing with children in New Jersey, particularly students from some of the more vulnerable communities, and they see that and they think, oh my God, I'm in 11th grade. If I can stick it out one more year and get into that program, I can have an incredible job. And by the way, we have a shortage of people in New Jersey going into those jobs. So our programs are directly connected to that.
I love it. You have young people who are doing something that is enjoyable, but they don't even realize that it's educational, right?
Definitely. You come here, It's part entertainment, but there's a deep learning element, and that's why people should come out to Liberty Science Center.